Hello everyone. Welcome to 25th of March 2026 live webinar, CCA live webinar. Uh, this webinar especially on Victoria State invitation rounds recently held on 17th of March 2026. Myself, Harmeet Sani, Registered Migration Agent from CCA. In this webinar, I am going to discuss the overview of Victorian State nomination. Recently, especially the recently held nomination in March 2026. And regarding the visa subclass 190 and subclass 491. And also, I will discuss about 2026-2025 allocation and statistics and detailed analysis of 17th of March 2026 invitation round. And another things like selection criteria, ROI systems, priority sectors, and industry focus, especially in Victoria. So today's webinar, we're basically going to cover the Victoria State only. And apart from this, I'm also going to discuss the latest news and strategy for the applicant, those who are still waiting for their invitation, who are in the queue to get permanent residency in Australia. So let's begin with what is the Victoria State nomination. Actually, the state nomination, it is a pathway for the skilled migrant to gain Australian permanent residency or provisional residency in terms of 491 visa. So basically, I am today going to discuss about the Victoria State. So Victorian State nomination, they are high caliber candidates they invite, and whoever meets the state economic need. So basically, the criteria for Victorian State nomination is economic needs of Victorian State, especially they inviting for those people who are living and working in Victoria State and gaining high salary in their nominated occupations or closely related occupation, or even they can work in other occupation apart from their skill assessment, but getting very high salary, especially if they're working on skill level 1, 2, or 3. So this is the basic criteria nowadays for Victorian State nomination. When candidates get the invitation from Victoria State, then Department of Home Affairs issue the final invitation to lodge the visa application. Only then you can lodge this application when department invite you to lodge the visa application for that particular visa subclass. The advantage for this state nomination is if you invited for 190 visa, you will get a 5 extra point and 15 point if you are invited for 491 visa subclass to help reach the invitation threshold. So 15 point is quite high point scales, especially designed for 491 visa seekers to boost their points, who would like to live and work in regional area of Victoria as well. So let's discuss a little bit about the visa 190 skill nominated visa subclass. So it is a permanent visa from the day one when it is granted, and it allows you to live and work permanently in Australia, especially in Victoria, and it requires a commitment of at least 2 years that you're going to live and work in Victoria State. And another benefit for this 190 nomination is applicant get 5 extra point to boost their EOI score. On the other hand, the 491 visa subclass, it is a provisional visa, but applicant gets eligible for permanent residency after the 491 visa grant within 3 years. They're eligible to lodge in terms of subclass 191 visa. So you must live, work, study in regional Victoria. include everywhere except Melbourne CBD metropolitan area. The requirement is this visa is granted for 5 years, but after 3 years, if you continue to live and work in the regional area, so then you'll be eligible to apply PR in terms of 191 visa. And this nomination 491, it provides 15 extra points to boost the EOI score. So this is the main difference between 190 and 491. So let's check the financial year 2025-2026 program statistics and allocation. So in this financial year, Victoria State received 3,400 places for state nomination, out of which 2,700 places were allocated for visa subclass 190, which is almost the 80% of total allocation. And remaining only 20% seats were allocated for visa subclass 491, which was 700 places for this financial year. So this existing financial year is good for people who are seeking invitation in subclass 190 compared to subclass 491, because very less number of seats were allocated to Victoria in this financial year for 490. While the planning levels are higher, the actual allocation is tight, so making competition for live in Melbourne invitations are very, very high. So the main eligibility criteria to seek this invitation is you must be less than 45 years old, and minimum competent English, so which is described as minimum 6 each of in IELTS or equivalent test, and you must have valid assessment in the occupation on the Department of Home Affairs skill occupation list, and you must have minimum 65 points, including the state nomination points. So for example, 5 points for 190 or 15, including that 15.491. So you must have at least 65 points to be eligible to apply this expression of interest. So what is actual process when you go for state nomination? So first of all, you need to lodge expression of interest, and then you need to lodge registration of interest with the Live in Melbourne portal, and then wait for the invitation. So if you invited, you have to apply nomination within 14 days of that invitation, and upon approval that nomination, so Department of Home Affairs invited to apply the eligible visa for what they're going to give you the invitation. So that's how the system takes place. So the selection factor for this nomination, of course, the total points, higher the points, higher the chances of getting invitation. But this is not only the criteria they're going to apply to select the candidate for invitation. So another criteria is also there, so which is annual earning. So especially for the onshore applicant, are ranked based on their Victorian salary. So at what salary they are going for. They ask in your registration of interest, so what salary you're getting. And there are some criteria how to calculate that salary. You can't describe all the salary you're getting. So whatever you're getting from the main source of income, the extra work or extra hours you working in your occupation, that is not countable. So basic hour, the full-time working hour, for example, 38 hours, they are calculated. Mainly there are a couple of other factors as well. If you're working casual basis or you're working part-time basis, so there is a salary calculator on Live in Melbourne website, so you can calculate very carefully when you describe the salary in your registration of interest, which is quite important. And it is one of the biggest factor nowadays Victorian government looking for when they're going to invite someone for these visa subclasses. Another factor is the English language. Of course, the superior or proficient English is highly prioritized. That means if you have seven each or eight is equivalent, so yeah, then those people are highly prioritized for invitation. Partner skills, so point for a skill partner or partner English are also countable, and total year of skill work experience you have. So if you have overseas work experience, you have Australian work experience, so how many total years of experience, that is also countable. So that's how all these factor are the basic criteria when the measures for the invitations the state government is looking for when they apply invite people for visa subclass 190 or 491. In the last invitation round, which was occurred on 17th of March 2026, it was one of the most diverse invitation round, uh, heavily favored onshore applicants. So most of the applicants who were invited were onshore. Very few offshore candidates were invited in this occupation round, and majority of invitation were for the subclass 190 visa, as I described before, because for subclass 491 there are few seats available with state governments. So most of they were having 60% quota available for subclass 190. So majority of invitation round we saw in 190 sector. And most importantly, the all professional occupation which were invited, they were around 80 plus points. Very few occupations they were invited less than 80 points. Uh, for example, I can give you some stat you can see on the screen in technology and engineering sector. So most of the occupation like software engineer, they invited on 90 plus points. Similarly, analyst programmer 90 points, developer programmer 95 points, civil engineer 95 points, biomedical engineer 95 points. And you can see most of these occupations, people are onshore who were invited uh, across these occupations. Similarly, primary schools teacher, they also invited on very high points, 90 plus, and early childhood teachers, they were invited from 75 to 90 points. Uh, and so we can observe that education remains the high priority in Victoria, but slightly lower points compared to IT and engineering. And they're giving more priority to early childhood teachers compared to primary secondary teachers. Similarly, uh, the business and marketing sector, we observed that marketing specialist, they invited on 100 points, advertising specialist again 100 points, management consultant 90 points, external auditors 90 point, internal auditors were also invited about 80 points. Observations from this stat is that professional services are competitive but still active for both onshore and offshore. Like you can see from the screen, external auditor who were invited from offshore at 90 points, and other candidates in advertising, marketing, and even accountancy as well. They invited for more than 90 points. So still they have a chances to seek invitation in Victoria State. Uh, it is quite interesting. A civil engineering draft person, they invited 65 to 75 points as well. But the reason for inviting of these of low point scale was the applicant was working on a high salary, more than 110K plus, which is very significant criteria. They opted. They have significant experience and a skilled partner as well. So that's why this person invited on a lower point as well. So we can see a strong economic profile can overcome a lower base point score. Means if you have significant profile, you're having the very high salary, you are partner is skilled or you unmarried means you claiming full point for as a partner, and you have superior English, then there are chances you may get invitation on the lower points as well. So that's what happening in Victoria state invitations recently, what we observed. And if I consider the priority sector, so the most common invitation in Victoria were the state given in health and social service sectors, education, especially they consider early childhood teachers, construction and infrastructure, and renewable energy and digital economy, digital technology. They gave invitations, especially in 491 stage as well. Uh, so regional Victoria, if you're considering invitation for subclass 491, the main strategy would be you must live and work in regional Victoria. Uh, Unlike the 190, the 491 is more accessible in those in growth sector like hospitality, tourism, and advanced manufacturing, especially for 491. Uh, but Victoria is currently prioritizing health occupation, especially for 491 visa subclass from onshore and offshore as well. But again, the question is, if you're looking for 491 invitation, it's highly competitive for this financial year because state got only 20% of seat of the total allocation for this visa subclass. So at the end, if you have any questions, so and I can also just a bit brief introduction about the invitation rounds and policy shift for the coming invitation round, whatever left, although very few seats left now. Victoria State going to conclude their invitation process. So invitation round are periodic and unannounced. However, the March 17 round shows that state is still actively spending its allocation, and there is a shift towards higher earner for the next upcoming invitation round. We can see that Victoria increasingly views salary as a key indicator for skill contribution, and expect the program to close for new ROI soon. It is towards the end of 2025-2026 financial year approximately. Usually they conclude in month of April or end of April or early May or June 2026. They are going to close it. So if you have any question, you need some guidance regarding your EOI and you're still waiting for the invitation, you want to update your information, and you are seeking more information regarding the invitation process, please do contact us. Our numbers are displayed on the screen, and if possible, you can visit our nearest office as well. Our offices are located in major cities of Australia, like in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, everywhere. So please do contact us if you need any assistance. Thank you so much for today, and thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone.